Quick disclaimer before the start of the video, I have had the flu this last week, so if my nose sounds blocked and my voice sounds flat, that's the reason why. Please bear with me as I try and get back on track and try and do this recording in one take. Let's see how it goes. You wouldn't immediately say something like Breitling is underrated. I mean, it's genuinely one of the most recognizable and popular watch brands on the planet, but undervalued. Now that's something worth investigating. When we look across to second-hand pieces, especially when we start exploring models like the Avenger, the SuperOcean, it's quite astonishing how undervalued these pieces are. And there are many reasons why, especially when we look at watches and retaining value and tanking on the second-hand market, all of those little bits and pieces that factor in. These modern watches are using highly modified Sellita movements, but the older variants used Kinesi movements, and that can sometimes be found for half the price of a Tudor Black Bay if you look hard enough. But they also have date complications and titanium cases, fantastic original designs that are far more detailed than almost all watches in this sports watch category. With a robust build and a recognizable name, these have got to be some of the best value dive watches, right? Stigmas are what drive a lot of us towards and from brands. Sometimes when a few of these stigmas have been accepted, we tend to believe them whether they are true or not. So when I say Tudor, I think a lot of us would agree. Great value, they are well built, timeless if somewhat derivative designs. When I say Grand Seiko, the best dials in the industry, superlative accuracy, Zaratsu polishing, truisms that are hard to refute. So when I say Breitling, the first thing that comes to mind is Navi Timer, or Too Big, double AR coating, designs can be hit or miss, many other small things like that. Very much like a video I made a few weeks ago on the Zenith Pilot and discussing Zenith as a brand in general, the reason why they don't have a wider following like some of the more popular and well-known names is because their designs are not linear. Very much like Breitling, they don't have an origin that you can trace backwards, and because of that, their designs seem disconnected a lot of the time. And it's this design disconnect that has in many ways displaced the SuperOcean name over the decades. Breitling as a brand has changed so much, and through multiple different ownerships, it's difficult to know where to look first. When the customer is overwhelmed with so many options to choose from, it's asking that question of where do you start? See, the thing is, with us watch enthusiasts, we're not always straightforward. We don't always like the linear approach. We like watches with a bit of variance. We like to go wild with our choices. There's nothing like having a watch with a bright orange color on its dial, or crazy numerals, or alternative case shapes. But here's the thing, equally, we do crave comfort food sometimes, like anyone else. Designs that we know will be optimal in all situations, that if all else fails, we will choose them because it's something that we don't have to think too much about. And that's why many gravitate towards the crown or the shield or the last letter in the Greek alphabet. Because like it or not, even if not all of their designs stick, there is a level of consistency with their work that goes back at least 30 years, maybe even more. And that's something that we like. A watch with a design that is recognizable, that you can wear in any situation, something that is a part of a larger timeline that we can trace back, with a design that, in a sense, could be seen as timeless, that doesn't leave us scratching our heads. So back to the SuperOcean, we get examples like the 57 collection, which is one of my favorites. Give me an original design from a brand any day and you will have my interest. That's just the way I'm programmed. I'm weird like that. A deep dish bezel, long minute markers, abstract looking quarter markers, Christmas tree hour hand. Yes, it is very odd, it's very perplexing, but a design sometimes doesn't always have to be 100% right. And what it does then is leave you questioning why the watch was taken in this direction. What was the thought process behind this idea? The Heritage collection then steps in with a bit more of a modern approach with its broad arrows, mesh bracelets. We even see chronographs in this category, and these are great pieces to find and pick up for a fraction of the price secondhand. And from here we look at the SuperOcean Automatic family, which has evolved quite a few times in its life, and this is the core of the video. The current generation is using late 60s, 70s design motifs, based on the SlowMotion or the slow timer SuperOcean chronograph, a watch that desperately needs to be recreated and given to us. It's such an interesting design, and I think one that should be reused in the diving chronograph category, another area that is woefully underappreciated. So we have this neo-retro aesthetic with an entirely unique design that belongs solely to Breitling. The use of a boxy snowflake minute hand and how that marries with the plots on the dial. After spending some time with this watch, it does look very appealing, but the issue with this watch is twofold. It is a more defining design for the next generation SuperOcean, but it is also not one that you would call a typical dive watch design, and here is your problem. This new SuperOcean, it will make a big dent if it's left to grow naturally. If this remains the core design for the SuperOcean, it might catch on a lot more than previous designs and other pieces because it is so distinct. But it also might have a hard time growing because it is such a departure from the earlier generation. And because of that, its design might be too polarizing. But if this remains the design and Breitling continues to build on it, then I think more people will be drawn to it. And when we factor in the smaller things, when the watch is far thinner in profile thanks to the new movement it's using, how the bracelet and the micro-adjust clasp system have been greatly improved, how the uses of color and contrast and a bit of heritage and a bit of modern retro styling has worked in this watch's favor. There are plenty of things to like about it, and hey, even right now you can get these watches for a very good price on the second-hand market. But the real point of this video is to spotlight what I think is the closest to SuperOcean comfort food that you will ever find, and that is the previous generation of Automatic with the quarter Arabics on its dial. And when you get up to the larger sizes like 46 and 48 millimeters, they start looking even better with bezel locks on the sides of their cases, some with helium escape valves, and they truly look like professional watches. This is arguably the closest that Breitling has ever come to creating a non-polarizing dive watch that meets all of the modern day requirements, and they can be found for an absolute bargain today. The reason why I like it so much is because I look at it and I do see efficiency. I see a lot of watch for what you're spending. But you're also getting a very well-balanced design here that could work as an everyday wearer. Now yes, we could say it's quite a safe design in many ways. It doesn't overstep its mark, it doesn't try to be anything different. I think that's partly the reason why this piece has managed to slip under the radar or not at least attract more attention, is because it is relatively safe in a lot of ways. And in a stark contrast next to the newest dive watches, which are far more individual and unique and more linked to Breitling, this one on the other hand doesn't feel like it's pushing the boundaries at all. But in saying that, with all of those parameters met, it is a very efficient dive watch. So like I said, there are advantages and disadvantages with both of these collections. With the new watch, it's a bit more polarizing. With the old watch, it's kind of boring. With the new watch, you're getting a design that is more unique to Breitling and its past heritage, and with the old watch, you're getting a piece that's split down the middle, that's a bit more safe, that falls into that comfort food bracket. This is the case though. These watches, the SuperOceans, the Avengers, Breitling in general, they're just not discussed often enough on this platform. And I think a lot of their designs, they're far more creative and original and unique than many of the other brands we talk about. The interest in these watches dwindle because many will say their prices tank on the second-hand market, therefore I shouldn't be following them or interested in them. But that's where the enthusiast can step in and look at these pieces differently. The title of this video has to do with value and undervalue, and I think for the most part, the SuperOcean as a collection is greatly undervalued by enthusiasts on this platform. Designs that are both original and unique and deserve more attention. Time will tell whether this new SuperOcean is going to be a success. The way it is portrayed, I think there is a lot going for it. Especially through all the work that the brand has done, they've been able to create a unique dive watch. Something difficult to do. But the older generation, if you're looking for a daily wearer, a far less polarizing design, that is where I think the value lies, at least for now. A simpler piece with a large militaristic dial layout with great options for strap interchangeability. And in closing, something else I'll add, a design that is both simple and foolproof. It's one that should have been built upon, instead of being left behind.